Hey there, crafty friends. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. In today's video, I'm going to be doing some foil stamping using the Scrappy Tails Crafts Mama Bird stamps and the Oopsie Daisy stamps. So this Oopsie Daisy stamp is a 6x6 stamp set with lots of different floral images. I just adore those little bees, and you also get some sentiments. I'm going to be using the two flowers on the right. I just love this Mama Birds stamp set. There's lots of sentiments geared towards Mother's Day, but the birds look so realistic, and we get lots of hummingbirds stopping by my area, so I just adore them. I also bought the coordinating dies for both of the sets, so let's go ahead and get started. Foiling has been all the rave, and I have gotten so much stuff accumulated that I wanted to give foil stamping a try. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my stamps and I'm going to use a Versamark ink like I always do when I'm stamping and embossing. This is the clear ink, and I'm going to use some clear embossing powder. So I usually love to stamp and emboss all my images, but instead of coloring them just as they are, I'm going to go ahead and try the foil stamping. So basically, I'm just going to lay the flowers in a design around my card. I'm prepping the paper using my anti-static powder tool. I'm only doing partial stamping, so I'm stamping off the edge of the paper with that big daisy design, and then I had the littler design towards the center of bottom center of the cardstock. This is Bristol Smooth cardstock. I was thinking that I wanted to try using my Zig and do some watercolor type coloring this time, but I also stamped the same exact design on some regular Copic friendly cardstock as well. So I'm going to be making two cards, but I only included the coloring for the watercolor. So this is the third stamp that I'm doing. Sometimes I like to use my spatula to help me hold the paper down while I lift up so it doesn't shift the paper, because I do like to double stamp it. So I'm going to get my heat tool nice and hot, and every time that I add the powder to the stamp, I'll just go ahead and melt that down so it doesn't smear. And this will be the last partial flower that I stamp on the right side of the card. Again, just following the same thing with prepping the paper with the anti-static powder tool and stamping it with the Versamark ink and using that clear embossing powder. The clear embossing powder that I'm using is made by Wow. That one is my favorite. I've tried several. That one works really well. So I went ahead and I also stamped a couple of the hummingbirds as well, and I'm using some Deco foil, peach colored foil. It's kind of like a rose gold. It's really, really pretty, and I thought it would be so pretty to make the foiling stand out. I'm using my Mink machine, and I found out that the setting of 2 was the best. Now, you can run it through one time, you get a pretty decent impression, but I like to run it through twice. It seems like it's a little bit better the second go around. So I wait for it to cool, and then when I pull the foil up, the reveal is just beautiful. So you just want to peel up on that paper gently, and there you have that nice and beautiful foiled image. And I just love the way that it looks. I mean, when you angle it in the light, you get kind of like a little bit of a rainbow, but it's just so pretty. Oh, I just love how these turned out. These images worked wonderful for the foil stamping. So I went ahead and got my little folder out again to foil the background, and I'm just going to lay the foil over just where the design is and trim around it using my scissors. This Deco foil worked really, really well, and I'm using the folder that came with my Mink machine, and I'm also using a little parchment paper in the middle as well. I feel like that protects the plastic on the inside of that folder. I've also done some card backgrounds using the Deco foil with nothing but the parchment paper, and that worked well, and that also worked well. I don't play with my Zig markers nearly enough, and I did the Bristol Smooth just specifically so that I could use my Zig markers, and I love the way that it blends out using the blender marker, and you get nice and vibrant colors. The colors that I'm using for the greens are the light green and the pale green. The blues are the cobalt blue and the regular blue, and the light violet. And the colors that I chose are based on an image that I Googled. I like to have a piece of scratch paper nearby that I can pull some of that color off of the paper to help add a little bit of depth and dimension. I love the way that these blend, and for the birds I just thought it was so pretty with the foil and these bright colors. So I'm just pulling some of the color off just to add a little bit more contrast and filling in the beak with the gray, which is the dark gray. And then that is my little hummingbird, and I think that it turned out so pretty with the foil. I just love it. I went ahead and I also colored the second hummingbird as well, because at this point I thought I was going to do the two birds on the front of the card. I'm just adding little drops of color there just to add a little bit of depth and dimension. I haven't played with my Zig markers in a really long time, so it was like practicing with them all over again, and I think that the look was really, really beautiful with all the blends for the hummingbird. For the florals, I decided to do a light purple daisy based on a Google image. I'm going to go ahead and color the stems and the leaves using the two greens. Again, the same greens, the light green and the pale green. And then I'm going to use the light violet as the purple for the daisies. For the center of the daisies, I used the mustard for the darker, and then just the regular yellow for the lighter, and then blended it out towards the center to get like a tritone effect. And it was really quick and easy to do. You just need such a small amount of color, which was what I was learning as I was going along, because the colors are so vibrant. So if you wanted to have that contrast, you had to really pull the color up with the blender to get that lighter color. So those are the centers of the daisies, which are so pretty with this foil. And then the flowers, I'm just going at the tips of the petals with the light violet and then blending towards the center top of the petals with the blender marker. It went really fast and it was very easy to do, and I'm really used to coloring with Copic markers, and so it just took me a while to learn to not put down too much color with these zigs. I'm so happy to begin my summer break. I just finished grading all of the papers, submitting all of my end of the semester reports, and getting all of my work done. So now I finally get to relax just a little bit before summer classes begin. So I do teach, and this is my fun time, my downtime. This is my fun hobby, and it's just every now and then I need to break it up a little bit and try a different medium, and the foiling and the zigs was a great way to step outside of my comfort zone and to try something new. And I really, really am happy with the way that this turned out. So I'm just finishing up this last floral, blending it out, pulling up some of that color towards the center, and then getting that nice contrast. So again, a different look. The foiling turned out pretty well on both of my cards. That one on the left was the Zig with the Bristol Smooth, and the one on the right, I tried to use the same colors with the Copic markers and on regular cardstock there. So I also colored the two hummingbirds with the zigs and with the Copic markers, and I was just getting ready to figure out how I was going to lay my card out. I wanted to stamp the sentiment from the storefront sentiment stamps, which is a 3x4 stamp set that coordinates with all of the adorable little storefronts dies that are in the shop at Scrappy Tails Crafts. And I'm doing the same exact thing with the Versamark and the heat embossing, and I'm just brushing off any excess powder because you don't want any spots of foil to appear where you don't want them. Now that I have all of my images and sentiments all stamped and colored, I'm going to grab some of this metallic gold paint. It matches, I found one that coordinates really well with the peach foil from Deco foil, and I'm just going to add some splatter. I debated on whether or not to ink the background, but I decided to keep it white because I really wanted the foil to stand out. I have this splatter box that I have handy at all times with little scraps of paper. That way I can just quickly go in there and add some little droplets wherever I want to my cards. And this foil or this metallic paint really just splatters beautifully. And so I'm just adding the last few drops on there, and I'm going to fussy cut the sentiment, just cutting along the bottoms and having it be a little bit wavy, just kind of mimicking what a sentiment die would look like. And now I'm going to add some double-sided adhesive foam tape to pop up the sentiment and the little birds. I'm using a top folding A2 sized card base, and I'm just going to use some liquid glue to glue those down to the front of the cards. Normally I would die cut this out and have a little bit of white around the edges, but I cut a full card front this time. Now, going through the placement of everything, I just ended up choosing to use the single hummingbird. I tried a few different things, and then finally on the left side, that is what I ended up going with. And I'm just going to push those down, and when I'm finally ready to have them be on there permanently. I'm also going to grab some sparkly gems just to add some more sparkle to it, and the gold coordinates beautifully with the foil. And I'm just using, even though these little gemstones have the sticky on them, I do like to be extra careful and add some glue as well to get those down permanently. I don't want them to fall off in the mail. And they're tiny too, so they were a little bit fussy to deal with, but I got them down, and then now that finishes both of my cards. I think that these cards turned out so beautiful, and they actually look more beautiful in person than they do on camera. It's a simple design, but it's beautiful with that foil, and I loved both style of coloring. Which one is your favorite? Did you like the Zig or do you like the Copic coloring on the right? It's kind of hard for me to decide. I actually like both styles. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. I really do appreciate your thumbs up, and thanks for subscribing. I hope you liked my video. I hope you like my cards. All the links to the products that I used are in the description box below. Again, I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.